Hello and welcome to this Jane's Weather Update. It is Friday the 4th of April. All of the rain that has been going over Queensland is now contracting further northeastwards. We've got some cold outbreaks coming across the southeast of the country, and there is wet weather moving into the southwest. We've got a high to the south, we've got a low and trough just off the coast, and that's producing a lot of showers and thunderstorms, tending to widespread rain. All right, let's take a look. We'll have a look at the next week. What is the rainfall likely to add up to? So all in through here, these parts of southern Queensland, there is pretty much no rain coming in the next week. That's less than a millimetre as the totals, anyway, shown in this light white here. So all of these areas, there is nothing more to worry about. We still have a lot of flood warnings that are current there, but no new rain on the horizon. It has contracted northeastwards. We're going to see more activity, more up the top rather than down the bottom this time. Moving to the southeast, there's some cold fronts coming through, but they are sliding across, so it's Tasmania that gets most of that wet weather, and it barely goes anywhere north of the divide. There's no connection to tropical moisture, so we can't get any of that rainfall moving inland as they pass through. Over in the southwest, there's a large area there that is 25 to 50 millimetres of rain, most of it at least 10 millimetres as this comes through. It'll take the next couple of days. So let's have a look at that in action. So here we have the end of, we're back to the right date here, the end of Friday. So Friday the 4th, we've got this rain that is still coming into these parts of Queensland. We've got this activity that is over in the southwest. There's the big high to the south, the gusty easterly winds running into that low pressure and producing that wet weather. In the southeast, you see how it hits the ranges here and does not go any further. It hits the ranges in the west of Tasmania and dries out as it goes to the other side. So that there is as we move through Friday. I'll just move this one out of the way. Here we move into Saturday. So there's another cold front that's lining up. This one has just moved through. We've still got this activity happening in the southwest of the country and all of this across the top, but not down in here, just a little bit in the southeast. Heading into Sunday, the next one is coming up into the southeast. Again, it's not heading anywhere inland. The activity over in the west is starting to weaken and move inland. And all of this is now only right across the top as it should be at this time of year in a weakening sort of situation. Moving into Monday, high pressure now develops itself over the bight here. So we've got winds travelling in this sort of direction. Watch what that high is going to do. And here is the low in here. So I've got lighter falls that are happening over in the southwest. The last of those weather systems moving out of the southeast. Into Tuesday, that high has now jumped out to the east there. Still got a ridge over the southeast. That starts to bring an onshore airflow for the east coast. So we'll have cooler conditions, Brisbane through to Sydney and all of the areas around that, with some showers coming in from the ocean. In the southeast, though, as that high moves out to the east, you've got this rainfall coming in through here, but let's watch that move in. It moves into here. The high acts like a stop sign, so all of this is going to head southward. So this is another misfire for parts of the southeast, particularly if you're anywhere between Adelaide and Melbourne that are missing out on the rain. This one isn't going to do much for it either. So there's Wednesday into Thursday, into Friday. Not much happening. It's just northerly winds, so really heating up over the southeast. In contrast, Brisbane through to Sydney, onshore winds, showers passing through. Nothing's going to add up to very much at all. Meanwhile, very quiet all through the interior here with that high sitting out to there, and then another system that is lining up in through here. So that's by next Friday. So that's our pattern. Have a look at all of that. Where was the rain actually falling? Yes, across the top. So there's where our green parts are. You notice there's a fair bit of brown in through here. It's just, you can see the green. It's down here. It's sliding across the southeast. It's not penetrating any further inland. We've got that little bit of activity that's coming into the coast. That's nothing exciting for this time of year. And we've got, this is from Monday onwards. So it misses the falls of today, Saturday, Sunday. And it's got that bit that's moving just inland there and before it dives on southward. So generally, browns are the key for the map for next week, except what's happening up in the top and the leftovers of that there. What does that mean for temperature? All of this heat in through here, not in the southwest corner. There's been a lot of heat there. Next week, no. Across here, we still have a fair bit of cloud. We still don't have any heat coming back, so it is still on the cooler side for all of those northern parts. The main part of heat is in through here, and you can see how it is moving out to the southeast. Certainly not at the start of the week, only once that high moves out to the east and you allow all of that heat to come in. So there is heat, but it is on the horizon. And heat for April. So in Melbourne, that's up around the mid to high 20s. Nothing extreme happening in through here. It's just warmer than average. Okay, there's our map for next week. Let's move into week 2. Week 2 begins on Monday the 14th of April, so that week going through. There's a bit more green in the map here. We've got some wet weather coming in from the northwest and coming down, so it might hit the southwest of the country. It might move into these central parts as well. Not inland, but at the coast here. So we haven't seen that for quite some time. Will it make its way right through the southeast? That is something to keep an eye on. You've got this that is moving up through the coast here, but otherwise this here shows we're continuing the break. All of that wet weather that fell over the interior and Queensland, there is none of that next week or in the week after that. So we're entering a break period for those spots there. So there's our wet weather outlook. Let's see what that means for temperature. We'll be looking at cloud cover. We'll be looking at potential wet weather coming through. So it's lingering on the cooler side through Queensland and the interior. We might get some cooler weather that's moving into the southeast as well. The question will be, can that weather system come through? Can it make it all the way across the south? That is the question on the horizon there. All right, let's have a look at what is driving things at the moment. We'll start with the Madden-Julian oscillation. This is that pulse of energy that travels around the tropics. When it's in our part of the world, it helps connect moisture with low pressure and produce that wet weather. We have been over in our part of the world. That's why Queensland is underwater, the parts that got all of the rain. It's done a little loop-de-loop while it was sitting here, and it is about to be moving out into this dry zone here, so moving away from Australia. This indicates that it's likely to do a bit of a loop-de-loop back, so maybe that is that bit that comes back as we move into that second week that could be coming down from the northwest. So that's what I can read out of that one there. And after that, the signal is showing that it's moving away from us. So there might be one more little burst that comes through before it goes away and then comes back again. All right, so there's our Madden-Julian oscillation. In terms of SAM, we've been quite positive. We dip down here into neutral. We're positive, neutral. So all of this is positive, neutral. There's nothing that is coming down through here. Last year, the majority of the time, this one was positive to neutral as well. So this is a fairly persistent pattern that we're seeing. What does it mean? The weather pattern encourages troughs and cut-off low-pressure systems rather than strong cold fronts coming through. So at the moment, we're seeing those fronts come up into the southeast and it's going, nope, I just don't have the oomph, I don't have the power. I'm just going to slide past as I go across and not deliver the goods for everyone. Also, high pressure is sitting in the way. There's a big ridge of it across the middle of the country. So it means that the connection between tropical moisture and the south isn't there. It is over in the southwest, but it's not coming into those southeastern parts over the next week. And this is one of the reasons. So the southern annular mode last year stopped the rain from coming through because you didn't have those regular strong cold fronts coming into the southeast of the country. If this remains positive again this year, we may get a repeat of that. No matter how much moisture we have available to us, you need the low pressure to turn that into actual rain. If we get troughs and lows come through the area, this doesn't tell us where they're going to go. It just says that it's more likely for that to be on the weather map. So we're likely to see less of the strong cold fronts, but more of the troughs and lows. That's the pattern. If they can sit over that southeastern part that has missed out on the rain, then yes, we're going to get wet weather. But that is the part that we have struggled to achieve so far, and there may be more of that in our future. All right, let's have a look at the sea surface temperature anomaly. So in order for it to rain, you've got to have two things work together. You have to have tropical moisture, and this tells us all about that, but it has to go into low pressure to actually convert the moisture into wet weather. This part tells us about the moisture. Let's start in the Pacific Ocean. We've got all of the blues that are in through here. Some yellows are coming up. It was moving along, more and more yellow, more and more yellow. Then a couple of weeks ago, it has just stalled. So it's put the brakes on in terms of how quickly the Pacific Ocean is getting out of the La Nina that we were in and potentially heading towards El Nino as the next one. With all the blue here and all of the red that is here, we have had plenty of moisture coming into us from the Pacific Ocean. So we push towards us here. If the yellows take over here, that's when we end up going back into El Nino. But if we don't have the corresponding blues off Queensland, then we don't see the effects, as in we don't get the drying effects of that because we've got our own source of moisture that is there off the coast. So what I'm saying here is if we go into El Nino, unless we end up with blues off the coast of Queensland, we may not feel the effects of that, as in it may not dry things out because we have our own source of moisture. Global drying, but for us locally, we've got our own replacement. Let's have a look over on the Indian Ocean side. We've got yellow all in that box. We've got blues that are here around Indonesia. That is a classic positive Indian Ocean dipole, which is the same as El Nino in the Pacific Ocean. This one here drives the moisture away from Australia. However, have a look locally, what we've got off the western coast here, that's incredibly warmer than average. That's our own source of moisture. So currently we're in a positive Indian Ocean dipole. I'll jump to that one there. You can see it here. We've just gone into it here. So here's our positive. That tends to make things drier. But with our own source of moisture that is off the coast there, we can still get that to feed our wet weather systems, even though overall globally we're trying to push it away from Australia. So we've got our own source, that was in the northwest, that's in the northeast, and the incredibly warm Tasman Sea that has been there now for years and years and years and does not seem to be slowing down. These are our own source of moisture. So tick, we have that moisture box ticked, even though the Pacific may not be helping us out and the Indian Ocean may not be helping us out. However, let's go back to that Indian Ocean. So here we are in that positive vibe at the moment. It's likely to stay near that as we go right through to winter here. However, later on, as we go through the later parts of spring, potentially that goes in the complete opposite direction, and that encourages that push of moisture from the Indian Ocean for us. So we know we've got our warm water off the northwest, off the northeast, in the Tasman Sea. So all of that is a source of moisture. The Pacific Ocean is moving to remove the push, but we've got our own source of moisture. The Indian Ocean at the moment is pushing it away, but we've got our own source of moisture. Later on this year, it's going to push that back in. So that's like a double shot of moisture. We've already got it there in the northwest, but it's likely to push it in our direction as well. So what I'm saying there is we have moisture tick. We might have extra moisture as we go through that later part of the year. But the big question there is, sorry, let's just go back to Nina so you can see this one. It came out here, so it came out of the La Nina that it was in. It's now just done a little bit of put the handbrake on. It's not moving as much, but all of the forecasts suggest it's heading this direction. So all of that, we've got our own source of moisture. Pacific, likely to send it away, but we've got a backup. The Indian Ocean, at the moment, sending it away, but we've got a backup. Later on this year, the Indian Ocean likely to send more of it in our direction. But this guy here, Sam, that is the one that is going to say, right, we've got all of that moisture, where am I going to put it? Where am I going to put the rainfall that comes from all of that? And this tells us that if it stays positive, troughs and lows, like it did last year, troughs and lows are going to be more prevalent. So that's anywhere to the eastern side of a low pressure system, the eastern side of a trough. That's who gets the wet weather, not the dry western side. If that is the pattern we keep seeing, we don't get these strong cold fronts to counteract what's happening with that, then is that again, Adelaide through to Melbourne, that entire area there may miss the rain, even though we've got bucket loads of moisture that could be turned into that wet weather. So that is potentially what we're looking at this year. All right, let's have a look at the outlook. The Bureau is now in line with that sort of thing. Here we are for April. So remember in the past months, some of them I didn't even show it to you because I was like, I don't actually believe what this map is saying. Now I am, because they're actually in line with what all of that is saying. So here is where we have the big odds for having wetter than average weather. It's Queensland, it's parts of New South Wales, it's anywhere to the east of that line. You've got all of that moisture available. We look like we're going to be in troughs and lows, so it's anywhere to the east of where they end up sitting, which is more likely to be NT Queensland and into New South Wales. Over here in the southwest, unless you get a system like is coming through at the moment now, yeah, we've got all that moisture up there, but if we can't get it to move into low pressure, we're not going to see it turn into any wet weather. So this is suggesting that there is a very low chance now through April of turning that moisture into actual wet weather. So these parts of the country are on the no side. All right, let's look further ahead, moving into here. Here we have May. Now we're suggesting that that is likely to dry up. We're going to have much fewer troughs and lows affecting those areas there. There might be something coming in from the coast at all times. Does that indicate we've got a high pressure system sitting here? We've got that onshore flow. We've got warmth coming down to the southeast, but the cold fronts can't come through. Maybe that is suggesting that that is what that pattern is looking like, much like we saw last year. So that is what we have for May. And the 3 months as a whole, April right through to June, has that tendency to get all of that moisture at the start of that period. And it's got a lot of brown for the rest of the country. So what this is telling us is we've got bucket loads of moisture available, but this is suggesting that we're not going to get the low pressure to turn that into wet weather, particularly in these areas that are in the southwestern half of the country. Let's whip around the country and have a look at what's happening. In Brisbane, things have calmed down. We do have showers in the area, but look how much they add up to, 2 millimetres. You will barely notice it as they come through. So nothing like the big heavy falls from the last burst that came in. In fact, it may be dry for much of the time because these are only 20 and 40%. So there's 2 models there that think, no, we're not actually having any wet weather. So that's what we've got for today. Into Saturday, temperatures rise. It's looking like a pretty nice day. So the cooler air is disappearing. We're coming back into the high 20s. Into Sunday, looking pretty good. Into Monday, top of 30, lots of sun shining through there. You can see the break in the clouds up the top. Moving into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's when the little bit of wet weather comes back. That's our onshore airflow. So temperatures are down, 26, 27, 27, and we've just got those stream showers coming through. So that's the outlook for Brisbane. What I'm saying there is nothing severe on the horizon. Heading into Sydney for today, we've got about 24. There's only one model really that likes any of that showery activity later in the day. Most of them have it remaining dry. Heading into Saturday, lovely day. It's in the low to mid 20s, so really nice. There's lots of sun shining through there. Even the winds aren't strong. Into Sunday, similar sort of thing, just a little bit of high cloud around. This is the low cloud. This here is the mid to high level cloud. So it's quite different in terms of how much sunlight is available, how much light is available. Heading into Monday, absolutely lovely. The pattern changes. We're going to Tuesday, that high kicking out over to the Tasman Sea, introducing those onshore winds. And so temperatures go down and we start getting some of that wet weather as we're moving through. So that's what you can expect for Sydney. Heading into Melbourne, here we have today about 18, 19. We've got a fair bit of cloud overhead. There's just this drizzly crap. Really, that's the nicest way of putting it. It is annoying. It can be there. It can make you a little bit wet. It barely dampens the ground. It's just annoying and it doesn't add up to anything. So that's the sort of activity we've got today. Most likely to be dry, cloud overhead, but a little bit of drizzly crap in the area. Heading into Saturday, that's when the next burst comes through, but here's the timing. It's overnight. It's after midnight, and it's pretty much before dawn as that passes through the next cold front, the tip of that as it comes in because it is sliding down. We're going to have some pretty cold air in behind that one. There's snow that's likely to fall in the Alps in Tasmania, and we get this burst that comes through for a pretty chilly Saturday morning with wet weather in the area. Then we move back to sunshine and a cold Sunday morning to follow. There is the slightest risk of frost through inland parts as we go into Sunday morning. Have a look at your threat toolbox. So over here, the more info here, and you'll be able to see when the frost risk is, or set it up in your notifications bell here for your property so you can get the hyperlocal weather that is needed just for you there. All right, here we move into Sunday. The next system comes through Sunday night into Monday. This is the last in that series before the high moves out. So we'll have a bit of lingering clouding behind that, and you guessed it, or if that drizzly crap lasting into Tuesday morning. So this is for the southern parts of Victoria. But then watch the difference. As soon as that high moves out to the east, the weather changes completely. Moving into Wednesday, a pleasant day. Thursday, temperatures right up, zooming up. It's almost nearly 10 degrees warmer than what it was the couple of days beforehand. And so that lasts through Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at this stage. So there is warmer weather on the horizon after we get through about Monday, Tuesday. Heading into Adelaide, and there's a hint of wet weather on here. We haven't seen that for a while. Heading into Friday, we've got just this drizzly crap, same sort of thing. That's what is stretching through all of that area. So you've got cloud there, and it doesn't really add up to much. So that's what we have on Friday into Saturday. It's still on the mild side. Sunday, one model, two models, three models like that as it comes into Monday. It looks like Monday morning is the prime time for getting something out of that last cold front as it moves past. But again, it's not going to add up to much. You'll certainly notice that, but it won't add up to very much at all. After that, the high moves to the east, so our temperatures jump up. Wednesday's 24, 27 here. And by Friday, we are in the high 20s. So there is warmer weather on the horizon for Adelaide as well. Heading over into the west, and I'll jump back to the start here, we have some wet weather around. Now, this is for Perth in particular, but let's actually have a look at what is occurring right now. And so here, actually, I might just refresh this so we've got the latest information. So the warning area is marked there. We've got all of this rain that is falling down in through these parts here. Let's have a look at what the rainfall was before we went past the 9 a.m. cutoff. We had 50 millimetres, 26, 33, 27, 19. So some big falls have come out of this already, and it's all moving through, running into the low that is just off the coast there. This here is more hit and miss. At the moment, there's actually nothing over the Perth area. This warning that we've got down in through here, that's for damaging winds. It's for tonight, and it is here on from late Friday afternoon. Yes, we usually get easterly winds at this time of year because a high likes to sit to the south. However, these ones are stronger than you would normally get with that sort of situation, and so they move into the damaging winds category. So that's what the warning is for there. Let's go back to the forecast. All of these models, we've got 80, 60%, but generally 80% do like it over the Perth area. So maybe they have missed that hole. The global weather models, pretty much all of them, were expecting that to be filling in that Perth hole there now. Let's see what actually happens for the rest of the day. But in terms of the beginning and end of this particular thing, as we're going to Saturday here, it's around midday that the threat of those showers and storms or potential steady rain do move away, and then temperatures can rise again. As we're going to Sunday, full sunshine is back. Monday's about 28, but have a look at the temperatures as we move through here in the mid-20s. So the heat is moving over to the central and southeastern parts of the country, and the southwest is shielded from that because the trough, as you would have seen moving in through here, the trough is here, it's inland, so you're on the cool side of that as you move through the that part of the week as we're moving in that Perth or southwestern part of the country. All right, that's it from me for today. Hopefully that gives you an idea of where we are now, what's happening over the next week and then two, and then where we're moving ahead of that in terms of the source of moisture, but whether we can turn that into widespread wet weather or not all depends on what that weather pattern looks like. I'll catch you next week. Bye.